اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم أجمعين. There is no act of mankind unless there is a divine ruling of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made divine laws, hukum or ahkamillah, in order to perfect the actions and the daily activities of mankind without a doubt. In this case, the divine laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are divided into 5 categories, and in this series of episodes we will be using these terms. In this case, we must know the meaning of these terms in order for us to understand whatever we will be saying in the subsequent episodes. We have said that the divine rulings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are divided or are characterized into 5 categories. The first category is al-wajib. Al-wajib is the obligatory acts of worship. For example, salat, zakat, hajj, and the rest. These are obligatory acts of worship that man must execute it, and without executing it, he is a sinner, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can choose to punish him as a result of his negligence. And also, if a person executes this task, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is definitely going to reward him with immense reward. This is the first category. The second category is al-haram. That is the forbidden acts. For example, drinking of alcohol and the rest. So if there is an act which is muharram, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't want us to get closer to this kind of act. The third category is al-mustahab. Al-mustahab is a recommended act of worship. It's an act of worship that when man executes it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward him immensely, and if he did not execute it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to punish him for not executing it. So this is an act of worship that it has reward, and if a person did not execute it, then he is not a sinner in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next category is al-makruh. Al-makruh is a disapproved act, is an act that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in agreement with it. However, if a person executes this act or undertakes this act, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to punish him. However, it is an act that Allah frowns upon it, although it has not reached the level of forbiddance. The next or the last category is al-mubah. That is the act which is permissible. For example, the drinking of water, the drinking of eating of food, and the rest. This is a permissible act that if man executed and he did. And the final or the last category is al-mubah. That is the permissible act of worship. This is an act that it is permissible for man to do it, and if he did not do it, there is no punishment, and if he does it, there is no reward. However, this act of worship, this mubah, for example, drinking of water, eating of food, although there is no reward in it by itself, but a person can intend. For example, by drinking water, he can intend, make his intention pure that I'm drinking this water as a result of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, taqarruban or qurbatan ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward him for this mubah act. Although the act in itself does not require reward. However, if a person perfects his intention and he undertakes this act, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his everlasting mercy is going to reward him with the reward of mustahab. These are the 5 categories of the divine laws and rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, we must take note of these terms, and in our subsequent episodes we are going to use these terms in our videos. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
صل على محمد وآل محمد.